There's nobody on the line, Jean.
Anyone in the room? No? Okay. We'll move on to the minutes of September 6th, 2023.
Move to approve the minutes of September 6, 2023.
Is Jean still on?
You just lost Jean.
Okay. Am I back?
Yes.
I have no idea what happened. Okay. So did we have a motion to approve the minutes of September 6th, 2023?
Yes, Vince made a motion.
Okay. I'll second that motion. So all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Minutes are approved. So we'll move on to item 4, which is our topics of discussion. And we have Mary Kuna from the Cumberland County Housing and Redevelopment Authority to do the quarterly update.
Hey.
Hi, Mary.
Hi. All right. So we are moving and shaking. The authorities are going through some pretty significant modernization efforts. And I see the light at the end of the tunnel, which is great. So we are almost completely set to utilize our HR software, which would be onboarding through everything, honestly, including payroll. That's almost complete. So staff have been delighted with that. We also have implemented new finance software. We're at the very tail end of being able to finalize all of our clients in there. And in general, all of our programs are now moving to a new cloud-based system. So hopefully will work faster. But when it comes to the actual redevelopment authorities, so we are doing a significant amount with blight at this point. So we have 12 properties currently in the queue. 2 of those we have moved to conservatorship. So we will see how that process progresses. We're actually going to do a redevelopment conference at Central Penn College in April. So people will be hearing more about that. When it comes to the county's demolition fund, we have 3 projects currently in the queue. We have 2 completed. And then also the authority received $100,000 in fair funds. And I'll give credit to Michaela in my office for writing that application. So that will be used to fix up some affordable housing throughout the county. When it comes to CDBG, we actually have been doing so much outreach that we had for 2023, 5 new participants. Those included programs related to youth, homelessness, and ADA curb cuts. We saw an increase because I'll give credit to Heather and Bry in my office who kept on everyone about timeliness. So the county CDBG funding increased by $1,000, home increased by $24,000. In addition to that, the county receives COC funding, which funds rapid rehousing and permanent housing placement. That funding we just got word today increased by $25,000 because we were able to spend it in a timely manner. So we're on a great trajectory. Then when it comes to our whole homes program, right now we have 39 homeowners on our waiting list. So that's the homeowner rehab program that the state launched for all the counties. With that 39, we've actually are going to be closing the program now because at this point, taking applications, it's almost, you might not be able to finish all of them by the time the funding is set to expire. But we have 4 of those projects started. And at this point, with the housing authority itself, when it comes to the county's voucher program, there are 1,200 vouchers out in the community at this point. That being said, we have 2,700 households on the waiting list. In addition to that, though, the county was awarded 16 batch vouchers because we were able to spend them, get them out in the community rather quickly. We were awarded another 16 by HUD. Those are specifically for veterans. So the county definitely is showing a commitment, at least through our landlords, towards veterans. So hopefully if we can lease up those, we'll get another few of them out there. And then we actually had 26 new landlords joined our program to accept vouchers. So the outreach is going incredibly well. And you will be seeing more on September 28th from 3 to 5. We'll be at Mechanicsburg Borough doing a CDBG outreach, open house, so to speak. And Heather from our staff will be there with some others to discuss the program. October 11th from 10 till 12. We'll be at formerly Medard's House, Link for Youth over in New Cumberland to talk about CDBG, talk about funding options. And then our next housing happy hour will be at Evergreen. We're looking at the second week of October. So that is one of our landlord outreach events. So that's where we're at the moment. A lot going on, but all positive trajectory, at least funding wise.
Commissioner DiFilippo, do you have any questions for Mary?
No, I don't at this time.
All right. Well, I don't have any either. Thanks, Mary. It's always good to see you. Thanks for such a good update. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is discussion and possible approval of the Pennsylvania Treasury Department's Invest Program Participant Agreement for the Commissioner's Office. And we have Kelly Neiderer, Dana Best, and Stacy Snyder presenting on this.
Commissioner Fasci, are you in the building?
I am not. I went home because I just
Okay.
did not want to have another coughing fit during the meeting.
I understand I'm not feeling well. I apologize. I had printed some handouts. So the Invest program is a program that's run by the state treasurer's office, and it operates very similarly to Pliget. And so they follow all guidelines that Pliget would follow in investing funds. They have opened up these programs to, it's a pooled investment. They have opened up these programs to government and not-for-profit. Now, we would be going into the pool, as Keith has given you, I believe, some information on the agreement. The pool that we would be going into is specific for government. I did print off the Standard & Poor's rating for that pool, and it's AAA. It's very short duration, as you would expect. And I also have give you one of these, and I'll make sure you get one, Jean. Some indicative rates on the second page. So currently, the daily is what we would be in, is about 5.25. It's a little bit over that. So it just would give us an additional option when looking for places to park investable funds. So Dana, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
So we are always looking for additional places to be able to invest because our policy holds the limit at 40%. And when we don't have enough institutions that are at our back that we're able to use that are competitive, we end up having to invest at lower rates. So this will give us an opportunity to earn additional funding. Because Pliget right now is our highest bidder, and we pretty much maximize that. So another option would be excellent. And we have other banks that we're using too.
But just by the sheer structure of these funds and the way that they are managing the assets, they live at the very short end of the interest rate curve. And so they are higher, quite frankly, than some of the offers that we're getting from banks, or that I'm hearing from.
Yeah, and when the market shifts, we will want to switch back to using CDs. We are using CDs also, but we will use more CDs when the market shifts.
So I believe Keith did review the documentation, and I don't believe he had any issues with it.
Dana, what's the current CD rate or rate?
They are all different. I don't know what today's rates are, but we have
roughly.
5.
Yeah, we have some that are sitting at high 4, low 5. It is locked up, Vince.
Right.
And these funds do reprice more frequently than that.
Thanks.
So do we have any further questions on this? Dana, I had a question. When you said that the policy limits us to 40%, 40% of what?
40% of our investments can go into any one. When it comes to CDs and this type of investing, they all have different limits.
In one, it's to prevent having too much money in one financial institution, Jean. So there's a cap of 40%. So for example, right now we have a lot of investable money. So we need a number of places to distribute that.
Okay. Commissioner, are we ready to take action on this?
Yeah, the next item is a motion. The first item, or the second item that we're talking about now, talks about an agreement that I don't have a copy of.
No, this was treated in the same way as any contracts where we provide the details on the cover sheet. But the agreement is simply a contract.
Oh, this is it.
Right. The agreement is, this is the cover sheet for the agreement.
Yeah, Keith has signed it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then also along with that agreement is an application, and Keith reviewed the application as well. We have them just put together. He indicated they did not need to be separate agenda items because it was really one step. But Commissioner, you did bring up a good point, is that the next agenda item is a resolution. The application process requires a resolution, and the resolution was written by the solicitor to meet their requirements.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the Pennsylvania Treasury Department's Invest Program Participant Agreement for the Commissioner's Office as presented today.
I'll second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So now we'll move on to the next item, which is the discussion and possible approval of resolution 2023-27 regarding joining the Pennsylvania Treasury Department's Invest program. Stacy, you're on.
Now, the only thing I'll add to what I just said is this is required, so we're not able to comply with your vote on the previous agenda item unless we also get approval on the resolution. But again, our solicitor wrote the resolution to their standard, and it just does need to accompany the application.
Okay. Any questions, Commissioner DiFilippo?
No, thank you.
All right, I will move to approve resolution 2023-27, joining the Pennsylvania Treasury Department's Invest program as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries, which takes us to our next agenda item, which is the discussion of the fiscal health of banking institutions with which Cumberland County does business. And Kelly Neiderer, floor is yours.
Okay, well, you all should have a matrix that
Yes.
I have presented before in this same venue, which outlines the Cumberland County banks that we currently have either are doing business with, or historically the treasurer's office and the county has had relationships with in the past. As we just wrapped up the meeting with Lee from Marquette, he alluded to, there is still some pressure in the banking industry, and I don't know that we have seen it all yet. So I wanted to look at the organizations and just make sure that they were within the acceptable ratios. Again, As he mentioned, Basel III requirements got more defined this year in 2023, and they changed a few things. So I have listed a number of banks, as you will see, and actually have included 2 credit unions to that list. And I have also included Pliget and Invest, just to give you some idea of the scope and size of the organizations that we're dealing with. I also listed the number of their asset size, where they're headquartered, the number of branches, and those are the branches in Cumberland County, and gave you some leverage and risk ratios. So the tier 1 leverage ratio, the important thing to know about that, a bank is considered strong if it's above 5%. The tier 1 risk-based capital ratio, you're looking at you're hoping to see above 6%. And then the total capital to risk-weighted assets is would be over 10.5%. So it's really looking at the risks within the bank, the assets, the equity that they have to sustain shocks to their finances, or to cover themselves through loan losses in some instances as well. So those are all of the banks that we are currently engaged with. We are not using all of these, but we do have some exposure to the vast majority of them. They are within beyond acceptable ratios. And then we added a couple of columns that say, ease of purchasing, and these are very subjective by our area, and the ease of daily banking. And quite frankly, that the one that scored the highest was a bank that we could actually walk to. Everything else we may have to drive, and in some instances, the one organization we would have to drive to Camp Hill every day. Well, that's not a convenient option for us. So they unfortunately would score lower. And then the capacity to handle the county is again subjective, and it's based on really the asset size of the organization, because the county currently has a significant amount of deposits. I believe all totaled we're at about over $150 million. So we really could not be dealing with a financial institution that was relatively small, or we would, in many instances, be, in a situation that I don't think we would want to find ourselves, quite frankly. So that's in some large organizations, the county's assets would not even register on their radar screen. They're so large. They also have more complex, they have better technology to handle our complex needs in many instances. So it's a real balance, I think, for us when we're looking at who we are dealing with, getting good service on a local level, them being large enough to handle our capacity, and being responsive. And we always are certainly very focused on fees. So those are the banks that we currently are suggesting be placed on the resolution that I believe you also have a copy of. And that bank resolution is one that has been before you, I think 2 other times. I think this will be the 3rd iteration of that document. Keith had drafted that document. The only addition, there was a change to Centric Bank was acquired and is now under a different name, which is First Commonwealth. And we are adding Belco. They approached me, and I believe Commissioner Eichelberger had mentioned in another meeting that he was aware they were interested in potentially bidding on deposits. The credit unions are a little tricky to evaluate because they're not required to provide the same ratios as publicly traded institutions. So I really could only list their asset size And that is disclosed there. I did not want to try and come up with their ratios and determine what their capital was to do that. So I feel comfortable with the asset size of the two credit unions that are listed there. If you have further questions on that, I'm happy to discuss it. I don't know, when we add a financial institution to the kind of the approved list, we don't know that they will be competitive. That is not something my office is involved in. That is in the finance office. They request the bids from the institutions. And so being on our list doesn't guarantee that we will ultimately be doing business with them. But it gives them the opportunity to bid, and should they be successful, that we could actually transact on that business. Are there other questions at this time related to any of this?
Kelly, did I miss something? So you just talked about Belco wanting to go out to bid for this, but they're not on the list on the resolution.
They should be.
I just noticed that. I think that this was a working document, and I think that what might have happened is a previous version was placed in the packet. We will update this as long as you indicate that you would like Belco included. We'll update it and then put that around for signature.
And Gina, and there was and if there was any confusion on that, I apologize, because I didn't want to present something that was assuming that you would approve the inclusion of the other institution. So we can certainly add it or make sure that you have a copy with it on, if you so decide. And again, I have to say, because there has been some public comment made about my preferential treatment to organizations. Personally, as a banker of 30 years, credit unions are a struggle for me because they're not subject to the same requirements as banks. However, as a public servant and a person that has to look at what's best for the county, credit unions play a major role within Cumberland County. They have a lot of locations and they have a lot of employees. And so I want to, when approached by them, if many are not able, and I think we were part of this conversation before, many of them are not able or interested in dealing with governmental deposits, but those that are, I feel like they should be included. So that was the reasoning behind, quite frankly, adding Belco.
So I just need some clarification then, because this agenda item is your discussion, Kelly. And then the next agenda item is the possible approval of the resolution, wherein we've got financial institutions listed. And not all of the financial institutions on the matrix appear in this resolution. And so I'm not sure what the intent was.
The intent was to just say, here are the banks within our universe that we can deal with. The approved listing would really be on the resolution as to those are the banks that we are dealing with. We have not excluded the other organizations necessarily, but it's my understanding that, for example, I will just Wells Fargo, it's in our marketplace. It would be very convenient. We do not have a relationship at this time with Wells Fargo. I don't know if they do any governmental banking locally. So these are the host of potential banking partners. And Jean, part of this for me is to try and be as transparent to you all as to who we could use across the county. There are some that are omitted that are not, and it's not a statement of that organization, but they just have never approached me or, to the best of my knowledge, finance in that regard. these are the folks that we would tend to tap. I guess if we ran out of resources to place funds, we could certainly try to see if PNC had interest in taking some of our deposits or some of the larger organizations that we aren't currently dealing with for the investments. But there are the ones that we are seeking approval for on the resolution are the ones that we have had the most responsiveness from for the investments with finance department.
So the banks on the resolution are vetted.
Yes,
Okay, we have a relationship with them.
yes.
And to be added to the resolution, do you have to be vetted first?
Yeah, well, currently under the new investment policy, which is why I was actually giving this information, under the new investment policy, I'm charged with doing this and sharing it with you and vetting them. So they are two
I lost you,
independent.
Kelly.
Okay.
I lost your sound's back.
Okay, sorry. So I said under the new investment policy, it puts the responsibility to the treasurer for preparing a vetting of the financial institutions that we deal with. I spread it more broadly because I do not want to be the one dictating who you choose and who you do not choose to deal with. So if there is somebody omitted that you want added, I believe I provided a list of those that are in the county, but I didn't run through this process. If there's somebody you want removed, I'm just putting all of the information out there for your consideration. The direct ask of the renewal, though, for the resolution would be to add Belco, and we needed to update the First Commonwealth. And invest too. We had to do the invest, yes.
Okay, so invest is on the resolution and First Commonwealth is there. And if we may move on this resolution, we need to add Belco.
Right.
Okay. Commissioner, do you have any questions about the presentation on the fiscal health of banking institutions?
Just one. I see a bank called Penny,
Yes.
and I see it within the resolution. But in the extra information you provided, Kelly, ease of CD purchases, ease of daily banking, capacity to handle the county, they're rated a 2, and a rating of 1 to 5, with 5 being the best.
Yeah. And Vince, that's just sheer proximity. It's not anything against this service that they've given us. But because we deal with, we do have CDs with them. They are just a smaller bank.
All right.
And so there are regulations that restrict how much we could actually have with that one bank under the county code. However, Dana and I have essentially established what we'll call a house limit as to where we feel comfortable because of the size. They do give good service, but we have to deliver checks to Camp Hill when we buy a CD, and we have to those sorts of things. So it's a little bit more difficult to transact.
Okay.
But they are in the county, and they sometimes are awarded the bid because of their rate, and so we accommodate that.
Okay.
So go ahead.
And right now in front of us does not include Belco.
Correct.
So we can make a motion to add it, I think, Jean.
Yeah.
So I'll proceed with approving resolution of 23-28 contingent upon adding Belco Community Credit Union as a designated depository.
I'll second that motion. So it's moved and seconded. Any further conversation on this? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Vince, I've lost the room again.
We approved it.
Okay. All right, so motion carried. Agenda item 5, do we have any other business? No? Okay, so motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Work.